In the fall of 2017, David Foster was counting down to his Amazon vacation. He was looking forward to exploring new places and cultures, taking in the beauty of nature, and naturally, just relaxing. While on his trip, he found something that changed not only the rest of his break, but also of his perspective on life. David was looking forward to exploring the Amazon jungles and beach of the island just off the coast. He expected it to be a fun-filled day where he could see new places. Little did he know, he would save someone's life. That is until he saw it, Negrita. We were sailing and decided to stop at this beautiful beach, and then off in the distance I saw a dog. I thought, why is she out here? It seems a bit remote. David explains about the moment he first set eyes on Negrita. This island off the mainland of the Amazon was completely. There was no infrastructure on the island or accessible resources for the dog. David saw a few people who had arrived in another boat, but that was all. It seemed this island paradise might actually be a nightmare for the dog. At first, David thought that maybe the dog belonged to another group that he didn't see. However, that was not the situation. As soon as Negrita saw David, she came running towards him as fast as she could. When she got closer, David remembers how he could see how bad off she was. Standing on that sandy beach, David was able to get a good look at Negrita. The black dog was covered in fleas and ticks. Her ears appeared to be sliced open and bleeding. Her fur was patchy, and she had bald spots all over her body, revealing painful bruises. Most notably, David could see her skeleton pushing out against her fur. As David looked around him to search for help, he noticed vultures circling the skies above Negrita. David knew she needed help, but this moment really struck him with how urgent the situation was. It looked as if someone had beaten her. She was so close to death. She was wagging her tail and crying at the same time. David recalls about their first few moments together. Even though all of her pain and suffering, it was evident that Negrita was happy to see David. Perhaps she knew that this would be her forever friend. Remember that David was on a deserted island off the coast of the Amazon. Suddenly, it hit him that this dog didn't get here by herself. It's too far for her to have swam, and no one lives on this island, so it can't be her home. David realized that someone must have brought her here on purpose and left her on the island. He knew right then and there that it was up to him to get her out and give her the help that she deserved. I knew that if we pulled up her anchor and left, it would mean her certain death. David was trying to think of where he could bring Negrita to get the emergency help she needed. It was obvious that this dog was near death and needed to be saved. What struck him even more was that she was not a stray dog. She was sailed out and left there. David explains he can't even begin to understand who would do such a thing to a dog. It's an unimaginably heartless thing to do to a sweet, helpless animal. Whoever dropped Negrita on this island had given her a death sentence. After spending some time with her, David gave Negrita some food and water. He took her into his boat and tried to prepare her for the journey ahead. As he waited for Negrita to get comfortable, he noticed that even though she looked thin and beaten up, she also looked relieved to be off the island. Negrita, David, and his companions sailed to the closest city in search of an emergency vet. As they pulled up the shore on the mainland, people gathering around them were so helpful in offering instructions on how to transport the dog and where to take her. Luckily, they were able to find someone very quickly who would be able to provide life-saving help for Negrita. The veterinarian treated Negrita for fleas and ticks that she would have acquired while living alone on the island. All of Negrita's cuts were clean while she was at the vet, and she was given a thorough inspection. Fortunately, for everyone involved, she didn't have any broken bones for major muscular trauma. Considering what she had gone through on that island, she seemed to be in pretty good shape. Negrita seemed to be feeling better after a treatment and was becoming attached to David. Even though she was still weak, David was able to see her sweet and gentle personality. Her loving nature became evident each and every day. As she became stronger, Negrita had followed David around constantly. Even when he is in the boat, 4 days after first finding Negrita abandoned on the island, David knew exactly what he had to do. David decided that he was going to bring Negrita back home with him to the United Kingdom. As it turns out, David was the perfect person to find the Negrita.
Also, if you've not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these animal stories every day. Now, back to the story.
At home in the United Kingdom, David operates place for races. This is a charity that gathers and brings donated toys to abandoned pet shelters all around the world. Prior to his trip to the Amazon, David had traveled to Natureza and Forma, a shelter in Sao Paulo, Brazil, to deliver toys. He wondered if they would be able to help him now with Negrita. David and Negrita had already formed such a bond in their 4 short days together. David knew he had to do whatever he could to get Anita back home with him in the United Kingdom. David reached out to the Natureza and Forma animal shelter and was put in touch with a generous woman named Thomas. After hearing this story of David and Negrita, Thomas agreed right away to foster the dog. As Negrita continued to gain weight and strength, Negrita would stay with Thomas in Brazil while she became healthier. David put out the news of his rescue dog throughout the network of Play for Strays. He had hoped to let the world know what was going on and gain a little support. He did not expect to receive the amount of support that would come flooding back to him. Supporters of Place for Strays began sending donations to help with the greatest care and for her plane ticket home. Even though getting the Greet back to the United Kingdom was far off, David was amazed by the amount of support and positivity that was coming from people all around the world. Canto da Terra, a Brazilian animal rescue group, heard about Negrita's story. They too wanted to help this dog get back on her feet. They donated all the food and Negrita would need while at a new foster home with Thomas. People from the States, Australia, and all over the world were donating towards getting her home. Negrita was so special, and I think that everybody recognized that they fully rallied around us. David was floored by the generosity he was seeing from complete strangers. Everyone seemed to know that Negrita was one special dog. Once Negrita was safe in her new temporary home and on the road to recovery, David headed home to Northern Ireland. David fully expected that Negrita would join him in a future at Weeks. He wasn't expecting these strict regulations on flying animals internationally. This created quite a roadblock. What was a few weeks turned into 5 months. She needed multiple medical tests, both to leave Brazil, but also to gain entry to the UK. David did the best he could from afar to help Negrita. He was in contact with government agencies from both Brazil and the United Kingdom to try and sort out all the medical tests and paperwork that Negrita would need to make a trip to a new home. Many months later, Negrita came home at the end of March. She took several long flights with many pit stops and at the end was finally reunited with David. David anxiously awaited at the airport for his Amazon girl to arrive. Understandably, Negrita was a bit scared during the start of her transition. This was a totally new home country and climate for this Amazon dog. Now, she would have to get used to the Northern Ireland weather. After a while, she settled in wonderfully and is a loved member of the family. David says that toys have been a big help in making her feel comfortable, and David enjoys providing her with as many toys as she would like. She loves her toys. She has one little teddy bear that I sent her at Christmas time. He was like her baby. She carries it gently and looks after it very well. It's the only one she won't destroy. David would send toys and agree to when they were separated as a way of bonding with the dog. The little teddy bear that David sent from Northern Ireland to Brazil kept Negrita comforted in her foster home and was now providing her comfort in her permanent home. Negrita is making improvements every single day and almost appears unrecognizable from the starving, sick, helpless dog that David wandered into on that deserted island 7 months prior. It may seem like a distant memory for Negrita, but David can't help but think back about it every single day. I look at her most evenings when everything is quiet and she's lying on her bed sleeping, and I think back to how she was found. The condition she was in was terrible. She has come so far because of so many people who gave her a chance to live. I am humbled by them and by her every single day. David explains. If you enjoy this story about Negrita and David, be sure to like and subscribe. This will allow us to continue making videos and we'll continue bringing these inspiring stories straight to your inbox. This story truly makes our heart swell. It was a chance meeting between dog and owner that seems meant to be. David was meant to go out on that boat and stumble upon Negrita on the island. He is the perfect owner for her and has provided her a wonderful life. After the support of many people around the world and the kindness of strangers, some individual stories can really surprise you. All it takes is a community coming together, and this wonderful story showcases that difference.